Hello, divine, beautiful souls. This is Energy Speaks Podcast with your host, Catrielle. We have a very special guest here today. Her name is Danielle Eugenia. Little quotations, Italian last name. I can't pronounce it. How are you today?
I am doing good. That Italian last name's DiCosola, so
there we go.
DiCosola, but my middle name's Eugenia, so it works.
That's how you find her, folks.
Yes. How are you doing today?
It's been a very interesting day. Cancer season's weird. Mm-hmm. I liked Gemini, but Cancer's cool too. Just very like you would think I'd be spacey before, right? Mm-hmm. I'm spacey now and just wanting to just go sleep.
Yes. I mean, Cancer is a good time to come back into yourself and calm down, and sleep.
Right? I think I'm going to be doing that soon.
Yes.
But, I had a really productive day painting, the house or painting my parents' bathroom, putting crystals in the walls and stuff. Ooh, yeah, I'm like so excited.
That's really cool.
But how was your day?
My day is good. Mondays are my day off of work, but I do a lot of schoolwork on Mondays, so that's just what I've been doing today is schoolwork. I go to USF.
Oh, cool. How do you like it?
I like it. My first semester was in the beginning of 2020, so I was able to be on campus full time, and then spring break came and we never went back. So it's been hard for me to transition to online school, but I'm getting used to it. I graduate in the fall, so it's been working out really well so far.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Which campus do you go to?
I go to the Tampa campus. My college or program is at Tampa. So when I do go, that's where I go.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's cool because my friend Renata is actually going to start going to USF, and I guess they merged schools.
Yeah, they just did that. So a lot of, so they call it schools or program or college of whatever your program is.
Yeah.
They merged a lot of them because they have a Tampa campus, a St. Pete campus, and I'm pretty sure there's a campus in Sarasota as well. Mm-hmm. And so now, you can have all of the programs at all the schools, which is really nice. Because I wanted to go to St. Pete, but my program at the time I enrolled was only offered in Tampa. So that's why I drive an hour a day to Tampa.
That's kind of funny because I wanted to do that too. I went to USF St. Pete and I only got accepted into USF St. Pete. So my only options were USF St. Pete options, like programs. And it was like, I feel like that I probably would have finished school if that would not have been that way.
Yeah, I see.
Do you recommend the school?
I don't think school is for everybody. And if I'm being completely honest, throughout, after elementary school, middle and high school, I was the worst student ever. I did not care. I've never been good at math, probably never will be good at math. And it's funny because I have an older sibling and he's the smartest person I know. And he was so good in school. He was going to go to school for pharmaceutical education. He was very, very smart. And then there's me who was just barely passing high school. And he went to college. He finished his degree in something else, horticulture development. He's super into plants. Shout out Sean Robert. Love you. He's from Chichuba. Shout out Chichuba. Okay. And then it was my turn. And my parents and I all had a really big conversation because it was Danielle, you're not the best at school. Are you sure you want to go to college? And I was yes, I want to do this. So I went to school originally for education, but changed my major. And I'm doing great. I have a 3.5 GPA, and I've been acing a lot of my classes for the first time in my life. My parents are very proud of me. I'm very proud of me. I'm not in education anymore. I changed my major. It's behavioral healthcare with a concentration in children's mental health and a minor in addictions counseling.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. And I found that calling. I guess I used to work at a school. I worked with ages 3 to like 12, so like pre-K to 8th grade. And I had a good relationship with a lot of the students, and the students just slowly started saying like, I love talking to you, Miss Danielle. I wish you could be my counselor. And I was like, what? Like, counselor? What are you talking about? And then, I did a lot of praying on it, a lot of meditating, sitting on it, and I decided to go to become a mental health counselor one day.
Wow.
And that's how I switched. But yeah, I just went off on a tangent. I'm sorry. But to answer your question,
perfect.
School is for me at this time. School is not for everybody. It's hard because it's a big, system. You pay a lot of money. You have to, if you really want to do it, you have to remind yourself, I'm paying a lot of money for this and spending a lot of time. So if you just think I'll go to school because I, quote, have to, and I don't know what I want to do, I would say wait. And, because it is a big commitment. And there are some people that I know that didn't go to school and are thriving in whatever they're doing in their jobs and their life. So yeah, I just think it depends on the individual. I don't think it's for everybody.
Yeah. So, okay. So you talked about some cool things in that, what lit that spark to shift your major from education, and really fuel for this direction?
Yeah. So I originally was going to school for early childhood education, and then I switched to elementary education. All of my jobs since I've started working pretty much have been working with children and family. So I know I'm very passionate about kids and working in the family dynamic. And when I was going to school for education only, there was just this voice in the back of my head that was like, yeah, this is cool, but you could do more. I just kept hearing that, you could do more. And I love teachers. It's a really hard job. They're underappreciated, and I have mad respect for them, but I just knew that there was something more that I could do. And at the previous school that I worked at, there was this little boy. He was a kindergartner at the time, and he just struggled a lot in school, struggled a lot after school. He just had a lot going on. And one day I heard him in a classroom, being upset. I went to the class and said, hey, friend, would you like to come with me? And he looked like, no, I don't want to be in trouble. And I was like, no, you're not in trouble with Miss Danielle. Let's go walk, just come with me. And I got this kid to sit with me, and I had him breathe. I said, we're going to take 3 big breaths together, and I want to hear you breathe. Really, I want to hear it loud. Take the biggest breath that you can. And he did. He did 3 really deep, audible breaths, and then he was like, Miss Danielle, I can't read, and I don't know what's going on. And he's never told his teacher that. They knew he was struggling somewhere, but he just started just pouring out to me how he felt. And he said, I wish I could talk to you. I wish you were my teacher. And then I just was lit up, because this was after a middle schooler was like, I wish you were my counselor. I would talk to you every day. And then this little kid just totally 180'd in front of me. And I don't know, I just had this divine feeling that was here you go. And then I was getting ready to graduate from SPC, a semester away, and decided I don't think education's the route for me. So I looked at social work, psych, and then found behavioral healthcare instead.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
We've had very similar paths. I went to SPC as well. I was in psychology, and then I transitioned over to USF St. Pete. But that's incredible. Like,
yeah.
Wow.
It was really powerful. I actually wrote about that story for my personal statement to apply for graduate school, because that was really the turning point. And I don't know how else to explain it than just a divine calling. And then when I went to my advisor at SPC to switch my major over, the course, and I was finally in the path that I felt I was supposed to be in, it was just super clarity. And I heard, I got a download that was like, you're on the right path, let's go. And I was like, oh, let's go. And now when I'm taking my classes and I tell people what I'm doing, that voice that said you can do more is gone. It's now I just feel so set in where I'm going.
So where are you driving to, or what is your vision?
Okay, so I graduated with my bachelor's degree in December. I'll be a certified addictions counselor then, but then I have to go continue education and get a master's degree. I'm probably going to do either mental health counseling or marriage and family counseling degree. I'm kind of juggling between both of those because I want to get my license in mental health counseling, and in the state of Florida, it transfers over to a lot of other states, so I'm hoping I'll be able to get into a program down here. And with that, I really want to work with the family dynamic. So however that approaches me, maybe one of the parents in the family is struggling with a mental illness or an addiction, and they come to me as a counselor, and then I can help the family, because when some person in the household or whatever family is, and it doesn't have to be traditional mom, dad, baby, family is what you make it. We have family here that is definitely not blood, but we feel that strong bond. Yeah. So when I say family, it's not just the generic family. But when one person in that dynamic is affected, it ripples effects and affects everybody. And you can get so far with one person, but when you work with the unit that they're surrounded in, I feel like you can get more done and create a better outcome when that individual has their support system learning with them. Mm-hmm. And it can also work with children. If one of the children in the household is struggling with a mental illness or addiction, it's good to have the parents involved because, they go home and live with them. Yeah. And so that's my vision. I just want to help anybody in any setting. I would love to have my own practice one day. The high goal for me is to get a PhD in neuropsychology. Ooh. So that I can study the brain, and whatever someone's dealing with, we can do a brain scan and approach their issue in a holistic way, as in the whole body. And also, I'm into exercise, diet, brain activity, and then pharmaceuticals, so try to do all the natural ways first and then see if we need to go farther, because in this country, a lot of people are just given medicine, which is just a Band-Aid most of the time, and they don't always get to the root problem.
I feel you on that. Mm-hmm. It just being an empath, I've noticed how that actually has been a major role in my life, mm-hmm. in regards to even coming to the conversation of mental health. Mm-hmm. A lot of times we're feeling other people, and yes, we can definitely have, things we're going through, and, it does exist. Mm-hmm. But if we kind of tear off the layers, strip them back, one by one, like you're saying, the holistic, and then it's like, okay, there is something that we need to even go a little bit further on, because you're right, like medication, like, sometimes it's not helpful, sometimes it is, but it shouldn't be just let's do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do want to say, just because this, like, I am going into this profession, I do not talk down on pharmaceuticals. I have people very close to me that their medicine really helps them and helps them function. So I'm not saying like, oh no, like, totally Xing it out, but there is an issue, especially with young children. They're like, oh, well, let's just throw this at them and do this and do this. And sometimes, it doesn't get to the full problem. So I'm not bashing medicine by any means. I just feel like we could add more to it to get to the root of the problem.
I mean, I feel like even, the way the healthcare system is here, it's a little bit like not organized. And you're talking about, I literally started medication when I was a baby. At 10th grade, when I went through something, I had 28 pills a day. That's insane. Yeah, that is a little insane. And now I'm not on anything.
Wow.
Like I definitely went through some major stuff there. And it's like, it was because this led to something else that led to something else, right? Like the medications and stuff, because they didn't all talk to each other. The doctors didn't all talk to each other. And it could have been solved as, oh, wow, okay, the eye doctor talks to, the general doctor, primary care doctor, and it could have been solved. You know what I mean? Like something to that effect. And we didn't even have to call in the neuro, like psychologist or whatever, like, and it's just like, there just needs to be a little bit, people approaching things differently, like you're saying.
Yeah. And also, like, so there's this thing called integrated care, which I've been learning a lot about in school, and I'm hoping medicine can start shifting that way more. But it's when if you are dealing with a mental illness, a lot of people have co-occurring disorders as well. Or if you have a physical illness, you may have a co-occurring disorder of something else. So integrated care, is when you have one place that you can go to, or one person, like a case manager, that can make sure that all of your needs are being met. Because right now, or to a lot of people, it seems like everything is so separated. Like, oh, I have my primary care, I have my psychologist, I have my therapist, I have, my foot doctor or whatever, my chiropractor, all this stuff, when it's a lot more beneficial for the individual if you can get everybody together in either the same facility or on the same page. That's very important.
Yeah, totally. I mean, one place that I saw, it didn't completely, they did the best they could in regards to this, like Mayo Clinic, for instance, they're all in one building. Like, it makes it a little bit easier. They still have to communicate, though.
Yeah.
And I will say that out of my entire healthcare, they did the best at it than, I'm in St. Pete and talking to a bunch of other doctors that, like, we need more professions, like, or more people for that profession of, like, doing case managing, but people that care.
Yes.
Like, that are not going to just shove it underneath the rug.
Yep.
Like, showing its purpose and value.
Yeah. Yes, I totally agree. We definitely need more people who care. I really care, so that's why I feel like I'm on this path.
Yes.
But also, it's important that we give people the tools to care for themselves, because this profession that I'm going into, I know is going to be very draining. I feel very lucky and blessed that I've found, not only my faith, my spirituality, but like yoga and this community to help me learn different self-care things that aren't just taking a bath, like real, meditation, shadow work, all of that, because it's going to help me down the line to help other people. So I feel like with this profession and other medical professions, there are a lot of people who do care, but then they get burnt out because they're not given that space for themselves. And we need more of that.
Yeah. Totally. I talked to someone a couple years back, and things have shifted a lot apparently since when I was in school. In the psychology department, it was really focused on biopsychosocial. And she was telling me how they're adding in the spiritual aspect of things. And I feel like that is so freaking important.
It is important. It's very important.
Because, like, how do you ignore that piece?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, spirituality is different for everybody. And it is a really important part of being a human, I believe, because sometimes it helps answer the unknown. It helps answer for the individual things that they can't learn from a professional or from something in science or YouTube, And yeah, I've seen a few of my classes always touch on the spiritual part of a person, and from what I'm learning is how to be open to different spiritualities. And I know I am, but not everybody is. It's a very touchy subject. So I like that they're talking about it more in schools now to help, to hopefully help open people's minds to the broad spectrum of what spirit is.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I'm just sitting here just kind of processing a little bit. Like literally a week ago, I found out that my cousin passed away. And I've been really, especially how everything happened. So he was, he was a veteran. He had a lot going on internally, and he was having a mental breakdown, and officer was called, and it ended with his life not being here anymore, and he wasn't armed. And so I know myself and my family have been kind of processing this. Like, it doesn't make sense, Yeah. Like, what tools do you feel you can give for one, either, beings who have a lot of emotional, that don't really know how to release their emotions. Like my cousin. And maybe the other side of things, of when things like this happen, how do you deal with grief? I know, yeah. I'm sorry, I just went there.
No, don't be sorry. You are totally fine. We're both Scorpios here. We got that deep, dark intensity. So this is, nothing really will make me turn away. But
yeah,
I'm just trying to think of the best way that I can answer that for you. Well, for the first part, so many people are struggling with battles that we will never know about. We may know some things, but we will never truly be able to put ourselves in other people's shoes. So I think for the individual, what's really important is community, having at least one person that you can talk to, that you can trust, is very, very important. Humans are sociable creatures. That's why solitary confinement is like the worst punishment in prison systems, because we are meant to be around people. So when people, especially vets that come back and their just whole world is shifted and changed, and they need people around them. So it's very important to have at least one person that you can trust with what's going on and talk to them. And then I will say this to everybody and anybody and preach it till the day I leave this earth: therapy. Therapy is so beneficial and amazing, and everybody should be in therapy. If you're listening right now, go to therapy. It's great. Even if you feel like nothing's going on, go to therapy. If you find a therapist that you really resonate with, it could help a lot, because, you know, you can talk to your friends, but having an unbiased professional can really benefit you. And I feel like there's this huge stigma on therapy and mental illness, and it angers me. I feel like I was put on this earth to end the stigma of addiction and mental illness, because it's not necessary. I feel like, you know, you hear, oh, I'm going to therapy, and then people look at you like, are you crazy? Like, what's wrong with you? And there's nothing wrong with you. If you feel, you know, insecure, or you have some mental diagnosis, depression, anxiety, bipolar, whatever it is, you are fine. There is nothing wrong with you. And you have to ignore the people who don't understand. And as a community, I feel like we all need to start talking about this more. So I really appreciate you, like, being vulnerable and talking about that, because if we don't talk about things, we will never understand them. And the more we talk about it and make it acceptable, the more people will be willing to go and get help. So if I feel like people who are struggling need to find a therapist, talk to the people around them, and, you know, if they need to go get a psychologist, they need medication, whatever it is, you know, do it. There is no shame in that. And, yeah, that's what I would start with suggesting for people who are struggling. And then on the other hand, like the way you lost your family member, I just think there's a lot of things that I think that we could do to prevent stuff like that. But the number one word that is going through my head is education. We need to educate everybody in law enforcement, in medical, like, you know, medical doctors, everybody. I feel like everybody who's in a helping profession, teaching, anything like that, everyone should have some course or some education on mental illness, because then I feel like we could slowly prevent these tragedies, these unnecessary events that happen to people who, you know, were just in a really hard spot in that moment.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really messed up for you to, like, literally just have a bad day and then end up in death.
Yeah.
Like, that should not happen.
No, it shouldn't happen.
Like, there's so many other ways, you know, and clearly, and from a spiritual aspect, I thank my cousin's soul, because I feel that there is going to be change because of his soul and how he chose to leave this planet. Yeah. And that's the way I'm looking at it from this perspective. But, you know, that doesn't make it go away.
No, it doesn't. I feel like most of us have dealt with grief in some way. And you can't compare grief. You know, we all experience it in our own ways. Another thing that set me on this path that I'm on, about 5 years ago now, 2016, I lost one of my really good friends. She overdosed on heroin, and that's how she passed away. And to process that, you know, there's different stages of grief. We feel sadness, we feel confusion, we feel anger. there's a lot of different emotions that we go through. And, you know, to me, the worst thing to hear is, oh, I'm so sorry. It's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. Like, you know, time will heal. Time doesn't heal, but you learn to go with that pain. It's like the ocean. It's like waves. You know, at first it's this crazy storm and you're just being blasted by wave after wave. And then as time goes on, the waves start coming less, but they're still there. You will never not miss somebody you love. And I don't think there's a time period. You know, people are like, oh, it's been this long and you're still so sad. Like, shame on you if you say that. You don't ever say that. People will grieve for forever, and that's totally fine. You know, losing someone so important to you or that you loved or impacted your life is really hard, and it'll never go away. But to help yourself still be balanced and not, you know, go off the edge, it's similar to what I said earlier. You know, find your community, find someone you trust that you can talk to. Go to therapy, talk to a therapist, a professional. They're there for you for that reason. Go outside, take your shoes off, stand in the grass. Like, take time for what you need to process. I was so lucky during that time. I was working for a woman, my boss. She's my friend now. She was very understanding, and she was like, take as much time as you need. We got you, and we will be here when you're ready to come back. So it's just really important to take that time for yourself, and however that looks. And it's okay to feel it all, to be sad, to be angry. And sometimes you might even feel relief, you know, because the place that I came from, a northwest suburb of Chicago, we, as a community there, we've lost a lot of people. That same year, I had like 3 friends die. I think we've lost at least 6 people that I personally knew, and then more that others knew, to suicide, drug overdoses, alcoholism, a lot of stuff. And I kind of just like blanked out, but we come from a place of a lot of grieving and loss. And I just think it's important for everybody who's dealing with that to take the time for themselves and try not to repeat those patterns, you know, like the negative patterns that get people in a place to lose themselves.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, in this day and age, I feel like we're starting to go in a new direction with this. But what's been before is don't feel it. Mm-hmm. Push it under a rug. Don't let it do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're past that. We're moving past that time. And I think right now in this season, I mean, this won't premiere in cancer season, but, you know, the cancer energy, I'll put it this way, is a really good time, like you had said at the very beginning, to really nurture yourself and allow yourself to feel every little thing, like every emotion, like a wave. And I have had some friends say that to me, you know, and I'm seeing a lot of value in it. You know, I have a Cancer moon, so
like, wow, double water,
right? It's a thing. Yes. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, if you feel complete, or
ask me, I'm an open book.
I love it. Is your experience and connection with like in regards to therapy with addiction and alcoholism, and, you know, maybe any words of wisdom of like maybe someone who has that in their awareness, whether it be that be the person themselves or a family member.
I talk about addiction a lot, and it would be silly for me to not express, why. I grew up like around addiction. I lost one of my really great uncles to alcoholism, and as I got older, in high school and after, I've had a lot of friends and other family members fall into addictive patterns. I've visited friends in rehab, I've lost friends, and it's just something that really, affects my life personally and touches my heart. I've had people, say to me, oh, well, I'm glad your friend died because then it's one less druggie in this world. Whoa. And yes, I've had some really mean things said to me, and it's just not right, and it's just not true. A lot of people I know do have negative experiences with addicts, but I think the most important thing that I can say is they are still people. My good friend that I lost in 2016, she was awesome. She was so great to be around. Her saying was, it costs nothing to be kind. She made me realize, wear what you want, say what you want, listen to whatever you want, just be happy. She was a very awesome person, and she just got stuck in a really dark place, and now, we don't have her anymore. So I feel like people who talk badly on addicts maybe don't understand because they've never experienced it, which I'm glad. I'm glad that you are ignorant enough to say those things, because to me that shows that you haven't experienced addiction in your life, and it is a hard thing. And how I mentioned earlier, the place that I come from, we've lost a lot of people, and I feel really strongly that it's because no one truly talks about it and comes up and helps each other. If you are struggling, if you're an addict and you want to get clean, you need to get help, and you need to surround yourself with people who want the same, not only for you, but for themselves. You can't be, coming off alcohol and then being like, hey guys, let's hang out. And they're like, yeah, we're all going to the bar. You want to come with us? You know what I mean? So, it's really important for, I feel like, the addict to, if they are at that step, that they are ready to change, to, change their entire surroundings, create that community to help support them. And then,
so that's something I actually want to talk on,
yeah.
Is how do you build a good support system? I feel like that is a huge thing. I've known so many beings to go through either alcoholism or drug addiction, and especially with someone, who has an addictive personality, it's really important for them to have a good support system.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
So, for me, my family is great support, but I know that's not true for everybody. Not everybody has a loving and supportive family like I do. So, it looks different for anybody. Just finding, you can go to support groups like AA, like Alcoholics Anonymous, or there's NA, which is Narcotics Anonymous, and you can build a community there. Maybe find one friend or cousin or someone that you can be close to that also wants to be sober. You can, find a yoga community like I did, and, just keep looking in different areas with things that you like to do, and just surround yourself with like-minded people. So, you can join community softball or soccer or choir. If you like to go to church and find, a Monday night group or whatever, whatever they do. And it's that's the best advice that I can give, because like I said, I'm very fortunate with the people that I'm surrounded by, and I know that not everybody gets that way. If you're listening and you're struggling, come to me, message me on Facebook, Danielle Eugenia. I'll be your friend. Like, I'm here for you. I'm cool. But yeah, it's definitely hard if everybody around you is doing the same thing. And if you can, move. Like some of my friends talk about it all the time. We're like, the people where we're from, they need to get out of there. Like, they need to get into a new, clean surrounding. Because if you're really deep and dark into some substance that is taking over your life and you're trying to get clean, but you're living in the area where you're like, oh, I smoked behind that building. Oh, I trigger warning, shot up over there. Whatever. Like, if you're constantly surrounded by the memory, that is not going to help you.
So coming from an energetic perspective is like, those are very dense pockets of energy, that are swirling, almost kind of like a reoccurring, residual energy in a sense. And so that's really important. Like what you just said, is to take yourself away from that, then you can, once you move away from an energy, you can transmute that energy. Yeah. When you're at a good space, like a very balanced place, and you can deal with those deeper, darker things that are within yourself. But yeah, I that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I'd like to say, like, for the people who aren't experiencing addiction themselves, they might be experiencing it with a friend, a family member, whoever, or people who just aren't experiencing it at all. I encourage them to open their hearts and their minds to the person behind the substance. Because, a lot that I see in my personal life and we talk about in school is the stigma around addiction is so damaging, because people don't want to get help for in fear of others judging them and being like, oh, like, you're doing this, like, you must be a bad person now. And they're not bad people. They're just, bad things have happened to them, and they were trying to escape, and now they're stuck and they're drowning. In school, like, ever since, the DARE guy, the lion guy, like the DARE program or whatever, talking about don't do drugs, kids, they always talked about the gateway drug. And whether you see the gateway drug as marijuana or alcohol, I don't think that matters. To me, the gateway to addiction is ACEs or trauma. And ACEs stands for adverse childhood experiences. So, trauma as a child, and, either you have violence in the family, or there's a bunch of different things like that, or if you go through a traumatic event, and if you don't know how to process that, you don't go to therapy, you don't figure out the demons going in your mind and your soul, then people go to a substance, and whatever that first one is, and they start to numb themselves, and they push that emotion down, they try to ignore it, they cover it up, and then so slowly that first one doesn't do it for them anymore, and then they venture out and try other things, and then it becomes this, I'm either going to be numb and not feel it, or this kills me and that's great. And it's a really unfortunate way to be. So I think we need to stop focusing on the gateway drug and start focusing on the gateway to substance use in general, which is trauma and, childhood trauma.
Yeah. And another thing that I want to mention is for those who are not directly involved with substances or, alcohol or anything like that, but are still struggling with maybe a family member Al-Anon meetings are really helpful, and that is a good space to go and speak your truth and be supported. Also, the other thing I want to say is, a lot of times we look at addiction, the word addiction, as, having a substance and doing that. What I've found is addiction can be as simple as the energy of pulling you, in a certain direction. It's kind of like this poke within yourself, and in realizing at a deeper level, why is that happening? Because I feel like if we could recognize that before it goes to the level of these depths, we don't have to go that route. And I will say from personal experience, I have a lot of family members that, have, been a part of addictive things. And so that addictive personality runs within myself. I know it. And so, at one point in time, I did actually take myself to what's it called? AA meeting. AA meeting.
Oh, okay.
Because I saw that, even though I didn't drink very much, but when I did and I said, I need more. It's that need, not want, or I choose to. It's when you get to the state of mind, I need this because there's something that's not quite right there. Because it's showing a specific energy that is very dense and rooted in not the heart.
Yeah.
And in toxicity, like even saying I need, my mom. Well, that could still even be a little interesting, and I say it like that because, I want my mom and I hold my mom, a strong connection with my mom. You see how that's different?
Yeah.
And I feel like when we kind of look at things like in a different perspective, sometimes it will call out and be like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm going to that place that I don't want to be in,
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That was just a little 2 cents of,
Yeah.
that I've noticed.
I think what just came up to me with you saying that,
Yeah.
wording is so important. Like you said, changing from like, do I really need this, or do I have like gratitude? Do I hold this space for this, whatever it is? And when I talk about the stigma of addiction, it also rolls over into the stigma of mental illness. People have been taught for so long to suppress their emotions that they're like, oh, well, if I come out and, say I need therapy or whatever, like people are going to treat me different. They're going to look at me different. And for breaking the stigma of mental illness, I find it helpful to change. I feel like as a community, as a society, we should change mental illness to brain health.
Ooh, yes.
Because, when something's wrong with your heart, you're going to go to a heart doctor because we want a healthy heart. We want a healthy stomach. We want healthy bones. You're not going to judge someone or be like, oh, like you want to go make sure your heart is healthy. Wow, what's wrong with you? No, we don't say that. So why don't we say brain health? Don't we want healthy brains? The brain is so important. It helps run your entire body. So I feel like if we can start focusing on our brain health, we can help lower that stigma around, mental disorders, mental issues, mental health.
And essentially, that's really what it is when there are levels of different chemicals within your brain that are not balanced, you know, shit gets real.
Yeah, it is your brain. Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, mental, like you said, imbalances in the brain cause many different mental disorders. And, yeah, we just need to start calling it brain health. You know, I want my brain to be healthy. Don't you? Yeah. How do I do that? Go to therapy.
You know, yeah, like, again, you know, I've done therapy before, like I've been in it, and I actively chose to, and that's an empowering thing.
Yes.
And when you can say, I choose this because, and that's what it is. And I will also say that, you know, therapy can come in different, you know, types of, you know, it doesn't have to look just like a therapist, you know, one-on-one. Yeah. There's different versions of it. Sometimes it could be like, I've seen really unique, I've seen play therapists. I've seen art therapists, you know, like it doesn't necessarily have to be talking to someone else. It could literally be a healer in your community.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people I've noticed are not necessarily going back to school, you know, but we're learning to cultivate things in a different way. And it's showing different, you know, changes in the society, but those are to not go unnoticed either. And like you said, like even for instance, mentorships, like within your yoga community, you know, there's a lot of wisdom there. But it's important to have someone that's not just your friend.
Yeah.
Have someone that is supportive, that's, you know, wiser, you know, will hold that container for you.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have that container held, you know, it makes it a little bit more difficult to get through things within your own life. And that's all we're trying to do is better our life, right?
Yes, exactly.
Is there anything else you would like to share with our listeners today?
I don't think so. I just, you know, I encourage everybody to, you know, reach out to their friends, you know, check in on them, check in on your family, check in on yourself. We all just came out of 2020. It was a crazy year, very different. There's a lot going on in this world right now, and it's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to sit by yourself. We all need community, and there is no shame in reaching out to somebody that you love or a professional when you're struggling. And yeah, that's all I really have to say. Thank you for letting me share this.
Absolutely. And while we're a little giggling and whatnot, there's one other thing I'm going to bring in, and I didn't think I was going to do this, but so Danielle has her dog with us today, Lily.
My baby.
And so she was looking at herself in the mirror, which is kind of funny, the symbolism on that. But also pet therapy.
Oh, yes. Lily's actually, she's my registered emotional support dog, and I'm getting her trained as a PSA, which is a psychiatric service animal. So she helps me more than people realize. They're like, oh, you're just obsessed with her and you bring her everywhere. Yes, one, of course. But two, she really does help me on a deeper level. And animals are so amazing. That's you got to do a whole other podcast on animals, man. Like their energy, they know you. They're good, and they're pure and they can definitely support you too.
I feel you on that. And I'm so glad that we brought in Lily here.
Me too.
Because, like we said, therapists don't have to come in, people.
Yeah.
They can come in an animal that your soul is connected with.
Yes.
And that is beautiful. Like, that is a beautiful connection right there. So thank you.
Thank you.
Danielle and Lily.
Yes. Go hug your dog. Go hug your cat. Go hug your lizard. Pet your fish, whatever it is.
Pet your fish.
They're not here for a long time, but they're here for a good time, and they support you.
Yeah. So we thank you. Thank you all, divine, beautiful souls, for listening. Please check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. What else am I on? YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio, and Google Podcasts. Please hit that subscribe button. And I know on Apple Podcasts, you can write a little review of the episode. Please, I'd love to hear your feedback. That would be amazing. And yes, so thank you all, divine, beautiful souls. I love you all. This is Catriel, and Energy Speaks, over and out.